Yo,
Hi.
finally
Finally, we got it sorted.
sorted. Well, what's
I
Skype is
know
so much easier,
it's
huh?
confusing. It's confusing, right?
It sure is, but it's all good.
How are you keeping?
I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
Good. Yeah, yeah. Feeling good this Monday morning.
Good. I'm getting day off, so I thought I'd chill out with you guys and see what you guys got planned for me.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Were you working this weekend? Did you have a show on?
I've done a boxing show on Thursday and Friday, and Saturday and Sunday it was family day, which was nice. It was a nice little break before, obviously, next week coming up BAMMA, and I've got another show on this weekend as well. So yeah, it was nice. Nice to have a chilled weekend with the family.
Good stuff. Are you kind of flat out now every weekend? Do you kind of have shows on?
And until mid-July, then a bit of a summer break, then back again in September. So it'll be nice. Looking forward to it.
So for any of our viewers that might like, because for anyone that's in MMA, UK, Irish MMA, they know who you are, because either they've worked with you, they've seen you at the shows, but for any of our viewers that might be newer to MMA, explain to them what you actually do, like what your role is within MMA.
My role in MMA is obviously I'm an MMA referee. My main objective of being a referee is keeping the fight safe and making sure the contest is done within a rule set, a unified rule set, and all fighters are abiding by the rules. And yeah, basically just to keep the fight safe. I'm the third guy that you hopefully won't see in the cage or on TV, but when I am there, it's whether to stop the fight or make sure the fight is safe. So yeah.
And how did you get into that role? Because I know that you obviously have trained MMA, you have a past in fighting yourself. So was that what kind of naturally led you into refereeing?
No, yes and no. Yes and no. Obviously, I've had MMA fights. It was never a career for me, as in to become a professional fighter. It was more of a hobby, and it did kind of lead into other stuff. We used to run our own show here, Fury MMA. We used to run our own event, and then from there, about 9 years ago, I don't know if you know Ashley Grimshaw. He's fought a couple of times on BAMMA and Cage Warriors.
Yeah.
They had a show up London, and it was actually a Thai boxing show, but they also had two amateur MMA fights on there. And where I trained at Team Titan and trained alongside him, he said, "Look, you seem to have quite a fair idea of how the fights work and what the unified rules are, and what we expect from the fighters and the safety, etc. Would you be interested in refereeing these two fights?" And yeah, long and behold, I've done them two fights. It went well, and rest is history, so to speak. But yeah, it's just I've been lucky to be in the right place, at the right time, and having good mentors around me, like Grant Waterman, Goddard, Leon Roberts, Neil Hall. I could name them all. They're the people that I've grown up with, and they've refereed my fights while I was coming up. So I've always known what a good referee should be doing, and as a fighter, to feel safe when I'm in the cage with a certain referee, knowing that they're going to look after me should anything go wrong.
So how long has that been now? Like how long are you?
I'll
Is
be
it?
going in October. It'll be my 10th. I'll be going into my 10th year.
Wow. So you would be one of the long-standing referees. You're there from the start, really. When we think about kind of the progression of the sport.
Uh, yeah, yeah, possibly. When you hear people say old school fights, I talk about like the Cage Rage days or the
Yeah.
old Cage Warriors days. Yeah, but as far as referee, like I said, you've got the likes of Leon Roberts, Grant Waterman, and Goddard have been doing it. Like I said, they used to referee my fights, and I stopped at 2011, but I started in 2001. I think was my first fight. But yeah, so it's been a long time. So they're the old school guys, referees, if so to speak. But yeah, it'll be going into my 10th year.
It's kind of unusual at the moment because we're starting to see the referees are starting to become like obviously they are a very important part of the actual physical fight, but they're starting to become kind of have a bit of notoriety in their own kind of
Yeah.
way, like especially in the UFC, especially then we had, Big John McCarthy at Bellator at the weekend, and obviously Marc Goddard as well. So what are your thoughts on that? Are you like, do you embrace that or
Um,
stop?
yeah. I mean, obviously, our aim is to stay out of the limelight and stay out of the way of the cameras. But sometimes it can't be helped. Whether a referee it sometimes gets caught out by whether fans think they've made a mistake or whether you're praised for doing a good stoppage and a good job. At the end of the day, we're there just to do a job.
Yeah.
I had a situation the other week when I was on a show, and the camera crew asked me, "Oh, can you make sure you stand to the left of the fighter because we're trying to get them on camera?" And quite simply, I said, "No. If I've got to be in that position to make sure the fighter's safe, and I need to do what I'm doing, of course, I'm going to do that." But yeah, I mean, especially now, like you said, like Big John McCarthy and Goddard, and just with the growth of the sport, yeah, people will recognise, especially the likes of those referees who are in the UFC and always in the limelight, they will recognise them more. And I would have used the word celebrity or anything like that, but of course, they've got great knowledge, and I would like to go that way as well. Hence why I'm here with you guys, and I obviously do other shows as well, like obviously Fight Talk. Just is more of the reason I think is to be able to give the fans and the people more knowledge of what's expected from the fighters as referee as well, and that's why, like I said, you see Big John do his Q&As, and you see Goddard do his Q&As and give their opinion about it. But yeah, it's going to happen, and I think people should embrace it. And I think referees should embrace it. But I think what you shouldn't get people to make a mistake for, hey, I'm going to become a referee to get into that limelight, and that's not the case. There are people out there. I'm not going to name no names. There are people out there who I know want to become referees, and unfortunately, it's for the wrong reasons. It's for, hey, the sport's growing, so let me join the so-called the clan or the people to go with the sport. But yeah, like I said, we've been here from day one. The objective is just to do what we do and keep the fight safe.
For us that are around the fights every weekend, and for we've trained in it, we know the fighters on a personal level, we can obviously see the importance of the referee and how it's bigger than maybe what the casual fan would notice or recognize. Do you feel added pressure? Like, because for me, it's probably one of the most high pressure jobs that there is. You literally have such a huge responsibility on your hands, even more so than in any other sport like football or rugby, whatever. You've got a high pressure job.
Yes, I mean, it may seem that way, but once, I mean, this is me personally. I mean, other refs you'll have to ask, but once I'm in the cage, everything else is just switched off. I'm there with fighter A, fighter B, and as long as I'm clued up exactly what the rule sets are, whether it be if I'm refereeing boxing or K1 or MMA, as long as I know what the rule sets are, whether it's AMI or pro, I'm there to do a job. I don't care if a fan thinks I'm going to be stopping the fight early, or if the promoter thinks I should have let it go on a little bit quicker, or anything like that. I'm there to do a job, and when not everyone's going to agree with our decisions that we make, whether it's a referee stoppage or even the judges. You see the judges around the cage, even if they make a decision, not everyone's going to agree with it. Unfortunately, someone's got to win and someone's got to lose. But like I said, our main objective is to keep the fighters safe. So no, I don't worry about the pressure of people saying what they've got to say. Look, we're in a time zone now where social media is a big thing. I could switch on a thing, and I've heard it and I've seen it before. Some of the stoppages I've made, people haven't agreed, but as many people haven't agreed with it, I've had people who've agreed with it. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, kind of thing. But yeah, you just try to ignore that side of it.
So obviously, being a referee in the sport for 10 years, you've definitely seen, one, the progression of the sport, and two, the progression of social media within the sport.
Yeah.
What has that been what you're saying about that people being able to point out, maybe if they thought you made a mistake or if you've done something good, has that been kind of the biggest impact, or what kind of impacts have you seen?
If you're looking at what impact for the sport itself?
Yeah, the sport, or just as somebody who's working in the sport over that time frame.
I mean, obviously, yeah, like I said, you see it, any big, classic case. I don't know if you watched the UFC last night. Couple of events went down, and straight away everyone's on social media. So whether or not you've even watched the fight or not, it'll make you go and watch that fight just so you can make your own opinion about it. So as far as social media in our sport goes, yeah, it's great for certain things, but it's not so great for other stuff. I mean, unfortunately, I've seen fellow colleagues being, bombarded with, hate mail, or whatever you want to call it, hate tweets, etc., for certain decisions they've made. And it's coming from, unfortunately, from fans who sit behind the keyboard or actually don't know the rules, because when you throw it back at them and you go, okay, well, what do you think I should have done? And they go, well, you should have done this and this. Well, actually, I can't do that because it's not in the rule set, And it is, hopefully we can use this platform to educate people, whether fans got questions or they're not sure about it. It's a good way to educate them. But not just in MMA, but in society today, there's social media. Like I said, there's good and bad to it. But for our sport, for the majority of it, I think it's a good thing. It's a good platform for people to be able to see what's going on in the sport of mixed martial arts.
Are you surprised in the dramatic rise of the sports for one that has been around such a little amount of time, for it to take off in the way that it has and just exploded? I suppose with Conor, with kind of the investment into the UFC and stuff. Are you surprised by it?
I knew it would come, because even like when I used to work on, I used to become, what do you want to say, called commissioner or a runner on Cage Rage. So when they used to be at Wembley, so when they started actually from a small nightclub, then they went to Wembley, and then you had people, you had Elite XC who bought them out. So you already had them quite big shows coming over to the UK and kind of touching on that sort of scene, and you could see it starting to explore and wanting to make sure that the event does grow. So yeah, it's not a surprise that it's happened, but yeah, how quick it's happened, yes, definitely. I think people have started to realise that it's a good investment, especially if you've got enough money to be able to buy out a company or be able to pump some good money into it. I mean, prime example, especially on the British circuit, BAMMA have just, they've signed up with Dave TV, and they're showing the next two events, the Dublin event and the London event. I mean, that's great to have a live platform that could be shown. That's fantastic, and for whatever organisation, even if it's just on YouTube, streamed on YouTube for free, have local events streamed on YouTube, it's fantastic for people to be able to watch and be able to see what sport we do. But the important thing is to make sure that the stuff that is being streamed and that is being shown is MMA, as in it's under unified rules. You're not getting two different mismatches or referees in there that don't know how to keep fighters safe, or they're doing their job, because the minute that hits the TV screens or something bad that does happen, it will hit the press like that, and it would tarnish the sport. Not so much, but that it could finish the sport, but it will put a dark cloud over it, So I hope that the advertising and the TV deals, etc., on these certain events, there are no mismatches, and it will keep the sport nice and tidy.
Absolutely, I agree with you there. It might be a bit biased, but I have to ask you, because obviously you're talking about BAMMA and you're talking about the Irish shows, and that's how we met, was at BAMMA a couple of years ago. And for me, I don't think that there is ever been, or I've ever experienced a crowd quite like the BAMMA crowds. Like, I don't know what it is, whether it's the 3 Arena, the large volume of like people there, I don't know what it is, but I just feel like the vibe was always that little bit more special than other shows. Do you agree? Because I think it's the Irish crowd,
Yeah, your Irish crowd is crazy. Yeah. What I would say about the Irish crowd is that what I like about it is that, and there's only very few other shows that I've been to that have been like this, that they stay from the beginning, from there, whether it be the prelims, all the way to the end. The majority of them people, say you had 6,000, 7,000 people, you still have about 5,000 people at the end of it. 1,000, okay, maybe they've gone home because they're fighting a fall earlier on in the card. But what I liked about it is that people stay right to the end. And I think, personally, if I've paid 30 quid, 25 quid for a ticket, I'm going from the beginning of the show right again. I'm getting my money's worth. But yeah, definitely the Irish crowd are a very loud crowd. And I remember when obviously the BAMMA done with Bellator, Dan Marguliotta, the UFC referee, and he was refereeing Bellator at the time, he was like, dude, I've never heard anything so loud and so crazy. And I was like, well, there you go, brother.
Yeah. I remember actually, because remember they had Wanderlei Silva, Bellator brought him over, and I had to show him to his seats, and he was like so freaked out. Like, he was like, this is the craziest like crowd. He's like, this is insane. I was like, this is a regular Irish show. I was like, you get this on the local scene, you get this on like a 3 Arena.
And it's a good thing, and it can only be a good thing for the sport. There's nothing worse than, and this is where it does. The word piss me off is that when you go to shows, I mean, we do local shows here back in London, and you've got fantastic talent on here, but the shame is, come by the main event or last 4 fights, there's no one watching it. You know, you instead of having 1,000 people from a local show, you got about 200 people still in the venue, and you think you guys have missed out. You should have stayed there instead of going down the pub after to celebrate with your mate. You can celebrate within 30 minutes time once the fights are over. And it's a shame for the fighters that the fans don't stay right to the end, you know.
Yeah.
But hey, I think that's again, is that a downfall because it's so available on TV? Oh yeah, I'll go home and I'll watch it back tomorrow morning. I've recorded it. I'll watch the main event and co-main event later after I've gone out for a dinner or on the piss, you know.
Yeah, but it's like any live show. If people do that when they go to, like, for music gigs, for festivals, that kind of thing, and you'll never get the experience of actually being there and seeing it live, like sitting at home watching it on your TV. No. That's my personal thing about it. Like, I always think about when people argue about, like, oh, I want to get the last bus, or I want to get the last transport home, or beat the crowds, that kind of thing. I'm like, can you imagine that all of the people who were in the Helix for Conor McGregor's shows, like in their local small Dublin shows, imagine if they had left, and now they don't, like, oh, I was there, but I left before he fought. You know, like, it just doesn't make sense.
Again, you know, it is down to not down to the fighter, but obviously promoters, and being a former promoter, you like ticket sellers, you like people who sell tickets, and you try to put them onto your main end of the card, so people do stand there. It looks good for TV or cameras, etc. That you still got a full house at the end of the night. But yeah, I think once the fans, and it's the way it's going, once the fans start recognising these fighters and going, oh yeah, he fought on that show last time and he got a great knockout, or he fought on that show last time and he got a great submission, we'll go and watch him and we'll make sure we stay to the end to watch him fight. You know, so it'll happen, and it's still growing. You know, the sport is still growing, and it can only get bigger. You know.
Absolutely. So tell me, how did you get into then working with MMA Uncaged? I know you're a columnist for them and you do pieces. How did that come about?
I haven't done one because now I think they've gone on to an online kind of service. To be honest, my life's been so hectic at the moment. I haven't put one out in the past 2 editions, so I'll be putting pen to paper and getting back onto that. With those guys, when we used to run Fury MMA, which was a promotion over here in London, I contacted Eleanor at the time, who was the editor there, and we worked together. He sponsored the show in return of having articles written about Fury MMA, and from there I started to thought, you know, it's a good platform to help people who read the magazine to understand what a referee's job is, and different situations, whether it be talking about the conduct of the cornerman, what a cutsman does, what my job is if someone gets knocked out, you know, whole heaps of stuff, you know, to talk about things. And yeah, I've enjoyed it, and I love writing. I love, you know, talking, writing, giving the fans the education they like to, you know, that like to hear. And I'm always learning, you know, from my fellow referees. I'm always learning different situations. You know, anyone who says, "Oh, is there anything that you haven't seen?" No, I haven't seen everything in the cage. Anything can happen. You know, a couple of weeks ago, a fighter's groin guard come out halfway through the fight. You know, it's happened to me twice, but I didn't expect it to happen again, and it's happened. And you deal with situations like that, or again, you know, like last night, I won't ruin it for the fans watching, but an incident happened at UFC where they had to clean the cage up. You know.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I was like, I've seen that. I feel so bad for that poor. Well, I won't ruin it again for that fighter, you know, but like, because that's what's made the news.
So as a
reality of the sport, though, right? This is like they're not in there, you know, playing tennis. You know, they're fighting each other. You can't control your body, you know.
Exactly. And like I say, as a referee, you don't go in and go, okay, I think this is going to happen in this fight. You don't know, you know. So but as far as MMA Uncaged, that's how I got into it. I love working for them guys. They're a great team.
So obviously you touched briefly there on, you know, that you were working with MMA Uncaged and they were sponsoring an event that you were putting together. How important for anyone that is watching or that will watch that has a business or that maybe is outside of combat sports but has an interest in this, how important do you think kind of outside sponsorship and help really will benefit the sport? Because this is something that I'm constantly trying to work on with brands and companies outside of MMA. They're like, oh, I love what MMA is doing. I love that it's like this community sport and everyone gets behind their fighters and stuff. But they don't seem to kind of have the the knowledge, or know that there can be a place for them in the sport in terms of helping shows, helping fighters. Do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah, like I said, when we used to run our show, it helped a great deal, you know, whether it be from getting a little bit extra money in from that. Look, it's got to be a win-win situation. You've got to offer something. You say to the sponsorship guys, look, if we put your logo and your brand on our posters, etc., whatever it is, or even some of the particular fighters, you know, we can get you to sponsor them. It'll be shown on TV, etc. It's got to be a win-win situation. You know, what can we give them and what they can give us? It's not about, oh, look, I don't know, Joe Bloggs has got a dry cleaning company. Can you come and sponsor us? You know, how is that going to, what benefit? He might benefit from it, but what can we do for it? Okay, instead, all right, well, if we need, you know, fighters' gear washed, you know, sponsor a couple of fighters and say, look, you wash their training gear for free for them. Something like that, you know.
Yeah.
It is important for events to have good sponsorship deals, because that's you know, it's a way of having money coming in and not relying on ticket sales, for example, especially the lower shows. You know, you rely on ticket sales to pay your fighters, to rely on ticket sales to pay for the venue, etc. So having good 3 or 4 solid sponsorship deals in place if you're running an event is fantastic. You know, then you can use that money to up your game a little bit, so to speak. And sponsoring fighters, of course, you know, helping that fighter and being, you know, helping the local fighters to achieve their dreams and doing, you know, achieving their goals. Because then when they get to that bigger platform, you're hoping that they would return the favour in keeping you as a sponsor, and obviously you get a bigger platform and a wider range for your product or your stuff to be shown to the world. But yeah, I think it's definitely important. You know, it's not being an end all, but it's definitely important for people to have sponsorship.
I agree. Well done. Very well spoken.
I talk too much. I do talk a lot, I must say. Sorry.
No, not at all. Well, speaking on talking, I know that you do. Is it a weekly segment that you have on Obviously Fight Talk, or?
When we can. At the moment, Noel's in Mexico with his feet up, tickling dolphins.
Yeah, he's in Cancun.
Rob's going to watch this later because I know he's at work. So yeah, when we can, I'll do. We do a referee's corner, and that's on basis of if something's happened over the week or the weekend. Sorry, if there's certain things come up again. You know, whether their mailbox or my inbox fills up, you know, hey, what should the ref done here? What should he have done there? But like, look, let's just use this platform and educate the fighters. And I tend not to, you know, throw any referee under the bus. It's not fair. You know, we all have a job to do. You know, if anything, it's more for the fans who criticise the decisions, etc., to educate them. Look, this is why maybe this referee done this, and this, or maybe this is what they could have done. So yeah, I do have a platform, but it's not every week. Whenever I can try to fit it in, you know.
Do you find that people come around, like that they might have kind of an opinion on Twitter, and then once they watch the show or once they hear from you, they
maybe they might not admit it online, because keyboard warriors never admit defeat. You know, they always think they're right. But yeah, I think they do. You know, even if we can reach that one person out of the 10, that's one person that's more educated or can understand the aspect of the way we look at things.
Good stuff. We just have a question in there from Billy Sondo. He says, hello. Hello, Billy. What's the best fight that you've ever refereed?
Oh, that's a hard one. Over 10 years. Best fight I've ever refereed. God, that's a tough one. All of them are good. I mean, it'd be unfair to the fighters to go, look, this is the best fight I've ever refereed. All of them have been good, from whether it be from the BAMMA shows or from the local shows I do here. But yeah, I've had very good fights. So yeah, so I hope that does answer the question, but doesn't answer the question. All
have you noticed a difference in the level of, you know, amateur fighters and now the new kind of professional guys? Have you noticed a difference in their level of sport in the 10 years?
Yeah, most definitely. I was having a conversation with someone the other day regarding, you know, how amateur. Look, when I fought, or most people, if you say old school, when you used to fight, you know, there was no such thing as amateur. You used to just go straight and fight pro, or should I say pro rules. Used to fight under. But amateur guys and girls coming up now, they're all youngsters. You know, majority of them either still living at home, haven't got a mortgage to pay, go to college, come home, train, eat, sleep. you know. Whereas some people, when we were starting, you didn't have that, you know, you didn't have that opportunity, and a lot more gyms are available now for you to be able to train, and get your skill sets up, and a lot of attention is going for the amateurs. I think finally we've got to a point where instead of just jumping into the pros, your coaches and even the promoters are making sure that people have an amateur fights first before you make your professional debut, you know.
Yeah.
But like I said, when I fought, you know, my first fight was against Brian Adams, who runs Shock and Awe. He'd already had, 4 or 5 fights, and do you want a pro fight, Dan? Yeah, cool, no problem. And you just get in and do it. Unfortunately, lost that fight. It was a good fight. But yeah, you know, you that's how it used to be. Whereas now, I think the coaches are realising that it's important to be able to make the fighter grow, to especially safety aspect as well.
Yeah.
Get them that cage or ring time before they turn pro. And today you can make a living out of being a pro. Well, so I'd like to think anyway.
Yeah, because I remember speaking to Rodney Moore, coach at Next Gen Ballymena.
Yeah.
Coach to Alan Philpott, Reese McKee, all the guys up there in Ballymena. Yeah. And he was telling me stories about when he started fighting, and he was saying, you know, you just turn up to a venue and someone would go, he looks your size, yeah, you'll fight him later on tonight, and they'd fight, you know. So when you think about that, he's so alien to how we know it.
Yeah, you say that. Unfortunately, there are, you know, I'm not going to say that's totally gone. There are events out there, you know, people do turn up on the day and go, okay, we've had a pull out, do you want to fight? It's a good and a bad thing. I've seen both ends of it. I've seen someone step in literally on a day's notice or a couple of hours notice and turn up and be game, give a scrapping fight, great fight, save the day, etc. Perfect. Whereas I've seen the other side of it, where a guy steps in and the promoter's gone, hey, look, I'll slip you a couple of £100, just step in and let's, you know, so I don't lose ticket sales, so I don't lose this guy's fans going, etc. And he's got demolished. And you know, as a referee, and touch wood, I don't have much of it, but I should never go and enter in that ring or that cage worrying about what fighter, before the fight's even started, worrying about that I've got to make sure I keep him safe because I know he's going to mostly get pummeled. You know, I never have that. It should always be A and B, neutral, let's see how the fight plays out, rather than someone stepping in and going, shit, he's taking this fight on a day's notice. I know he's not very good. He's mostly in it for the money anyway. So, yeah, my whole concentration is going to be on him, and it shouldn't be that way.
Agreed. Another question just there from Billy. What's your thoughts on the dangers of weight cutting?
Yeah, weight cutting.
You know, it's in the media quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's now one of those things that people like to talk about, you know, with the new rules for amateurs. Well, we have with IMA, the formation of IMA weigh-ins, and obviously you have that at IMAF as well, at the European and the World Championships. I think it's brilliant for amateurs. But then obviously you have weight cutting for professionals as well. You might see people drop, you know, 15, 20 pounds during a fight camp. What's your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on it is, look, at the end of the day, as long as it's done safely, you know, I remember one weight cut I had, and I'd done it very bad. I left it to like literally last minute to cut a couple of kilos, and my stomach was empty, and I was vomiting out bile, you know, all the green stuff that comes out your stomach, which I'm being told is my stomach lining, etc. You know, after that, I realised, you know what? Instead of leaving it to the last minute to cut my weight, make sure you have a clean diet, make sure you train hard, and if you don't have to cut a weight division below, just so you're the biggest guy on top of in that division for you to fight, then don't do it. Because what I'm finding is happening is that people are now concentrating more on the weight cutting stuff rather than the training. So I'm training to lose weight and make sure I'm on weight for my fight. Not I'm training to brush up on my skills, etc. So I think if you at your walkabout weight and you're a couple of kilos heavier than the weight below you, that's fine. But when you're trying to cut a whole division out, so say someone walks around 93 kg or 94 kg, why not fight like heavyweight, you know, as opposed to cutting all the way down to middleweight to be the biggest guy, so that when you fuel up, you're back up to 90 kg again. Yeah, some people can do it. You know, I think if you can do it comfortably, do it. And have a good team around you, have a good dietitian, and just sensible. That's all it is. Especially the biggest advice I can give the young kids is just honestly get a good diet. Yeah, as you know, teenagers, they like to go out, party, drink, eat crap food, whatever it may be. You know, but if you're taking it seriously, just make sure that you do it properly. You have a good team around you.
Agreed. And before I let you go,
Yeah.
I always ask this one question to guests that we have on Facebook Live. What's the most important thing that you've learned throughout your... I usually ask fighters their fighting career, but I'll ask you for your professional career in referee. What's the most important thing or most important kind of life lesson that you've learned throughout your experience?
You can't please everyone. Honestly, you can't please everyone. You know, like I said earlier, if you stop a fight or a decision that you make, I said there's two people in there. One's got to leave as a winner, one's got to leave as a loser. But, you know, it is always nice that if you make a decision, whether you're stopping a fight or you've prevented someone getting knocked out, it's always nice afterwards. You don't always see it on the cameras, on TV, which is great as well. But backstage afterwards, you get a cornerman going, thanks, ref, that was good. You know, we could only see it going one way. And people need to understand that we're not there to wait till your fighter to get knocked out or subbed out or choked out before we step in. We're there to prevent that from happening. You know, at the end of the day, we want the guys and girls to be able to fight another day or be able to go home to their family and friends, etc., rather than sitting 24 hours in a hospital and sitting at A&E waiting to be seen, you know? So, yeah, for me, you can't please everyone. That's my one thing I've learned.
Well, that's a good one because it can transcend not only into MMA but into actual life as well. Isn't that right?
Of course.
But listen, thank you very much. But where can everyone see you next? You'll be at BAMMA.
I'll be at BAMMA, and I've got a couple of local shows in London as well, a couple of boxing shows as well. So yeah, the big one will be BAMMA. So I'm looking forward to it in Dublin. So
if anyone wants their pictures taken with
no.
Recipes.
Now you're making me blush. Let me go.
Well, listen, Daniel, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And look forward to seeing you on the next episode of obviously Fight Talk as well. And thank you for all your hard work that you do.
Thanks for having me and keep doing what you're doing. Great job.
Thank you very much.
Great Irish platform.
Thank you, Daniel. I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.
Take care.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.